Good evening and welcome to the regular council meeting of Tuesday, January 27th, 2026, held in person and online. I note that quorum has been reached and I declare the meeting open. Please be advised that this meeting is being recorded and broadcast live. While I will provide my opening remarks in English, you are welcome to address me in either French or English, and I will respond in the language of your choice. If at any point a response is given in one language and you would like it translated, simply raise your hand and let me know. Donc en français, veuillez noter que cette séance est enregistrée et diffusée en direct. Bien que je fasse mes remarques d'ouverture en anglais, vous êtes invité à m'adresser en français ou en anglais et je vous répondrai dans la langue de votre choix. Si à un moment donné, une réponse est donnée dans une langue et que vous souhaitez qu'elle soit traduite, il vous suffira de lever la main et de me le faire savoir. So Happy New Year's to everyone, wishing everyone warmth, joy, and generous well-being. Following the 2022 CMQ audit and the audited financial statements management letters, the town had a clear list of structural corrections to make. With the arrival of the new treasurer in March of 2025, those corrective measures were taken in hand directly. Within months, the treasurer standardized budgetary controls and monitoring, tightened internal controls and segregation of duties, brought contract management and payment processes fully in line with the CMQ and MAMASH expectations, clarified the treatment of surpluses, reserves, and restricted funds, improved the clarity, cadence, and usefulness of financial reporting to Council. As a result, the CMQ action plan and management letter issues are now largely resolved at the structural level. What remains are not corrective fixes, but foundational planning tools. So this year, the asset management plan to ground capital decisions in condition and life cycle data, and the strategic plan to align council priorities, organizational capacity, and long-term investments will be done. Both are proposed for formal mandating in 2026, now that the financial house is in order. This allows the 2025 budget and PTI to be adopted on This allowed for the 2025 budget and PTI to be adopted on a solid foundation. Looking ahead to 2026, I have gathered material received through the budget preparation period and comments received from councillors from the end of last term and gathered from the campaign period. The items fall under 11 headings and 16 core deliverables proposed for 2026. These council orientations are intended to provide direction and alignment for both council and town. They will be validated with the public through a strategic plan exercise to take place this year. The deliverables for 2026 include the 2026 to 2023 strategic plan, clean management letters from the auditors for 2025 onward, improving and redesigning one major park per year, a vision for the town's look and feel and potential for redevelopment, the Sandy Beach Conservation Management Plan, a branding refresh, a cultural action plan, and the launch of the Economic Development Committee. I would like to share a brief project progress update and a few achievements. In December, the town completed an ecological land acquisition through the Federal Ecologic Gifts Program, made possible by a generous donation from Susan Holscher. This 1.5 hectare parcel, signed on December 16th, protects a section of the Cattail Marsh in Como Gardens, an area of significant ecological value. This donation was facilitated with the expertise of Nature Action Quebec, mandated for this purpose in the fall of 2023. This year, the town will begin a project to control invasive plants in the marsh. The Canada Ecological Gift Program is a federal program that encourages landowners to donate ecologically sensitive land on conservation easements for permanent protection. Donors receive exceptional tax benefits, no capital gains tax on the donated land, and a federal donation tax credit or corporate deduction based on a full fair market value. For individuals, the federal credit is 15% on the first $200 and 29% on the remainder, with provincial credits on top. There is no dollar cap on ecological gifts, and unused credits can be carried forward for up to 10 years. Together, these incentives can offset a large share of the value of a conservation donation and make permanent land protection financially feasible for many owners. Now, turning to Sandy Beach, the acquisition loan bylaw came into force on December 17th on receiving the approval by the Ministère des Affaires municipales et de l'Habitation. The deed of sale is expected to be signed on February 11th. This evening, Council will be removing the first right of refusal on the Nukenko lots. At the same time, Council continues to assess public support for accepting the $2 million CMM grant tied to the acquisition and long-term conservation of Sandy Beach. The deadline to accept the grant is March 1st of 2026. To assess the acceptability of this acceptance of the CMM grant, the town will launch an online public survey in early of February, presenting the next steps for reopening and conservation and inviting residents to share concerns, points of vigilance, and perceived benefits. A public information session is scheduled for February 19th here at Town Hall to present the survey results, Council's position, and the proposed path forward. In parallel, the town is advancing the required governance steps, including amending bylaw 770-2024 to allow use of the site following adoption of the loan bylaw. At the February Council meeting, so next month, Council is expected to proceed with registration of Sandy Beach in the Metropolitan Conservation Registry, which is a condition of the grant and the awarding of the contract to Nature Action Québec. Please note that at this time, Council is leaning towards accepting the grant, subject to public consultation and formal safeguards with a conservation-first approach centered on monitoring, patrolling, managing overuse, and adaptive measures such as a temporary or seasonal closures if regeneration is needed. A resolution to confirm acceptance of the grant will be presented for adoption at the February 24th Public Council meeting. Now, on primary health care, with regards to the GMF, Quebec reached a tentative agreement in principle with the Fédération des médecins omnipraticiens du Québec last December and delayed implementation of Law 2 to February 28th of 2026, but the revised framework remains undefined. This uncertainty led our GMF of Hudson Medi-Centre to suspend its previously announced closure, while noting that nothing in the current agreement improves real patient access or removes the systemic and financial barriers facing frontline clinics. One physician has confirmed her departure to Prince Edward Island, others remain uncertain, and financial viability remains the binding constraint. This fragile reprieve is unfolding amid political disruptions where the Health Minister, Christian Dubé, resigned in December and Premier François Legault has announced he will step down before the next election. Quebec law does not currently support a municipal GMF model, sharply limiting what towns like Hudson can do beyond advocacy, coordination, and territorial defense of access to care. There are no known examples in Quebec of cities or towns owning and operating primary care clinics as seen in some other provinces. By contrast, in Prince Edward Island, primary care is organized through provincially run patient medical homes and primary care networks. In Ontario, community-based models such as family health teams and community health centers operate under provincial frameworks, including in the Collingwood South Georgian Bay area. While not municipally operated, these models illustrate alternative governance approaches that relieve physicians of the financial and administrative burdens that characterizes Quebec's GMF model. With regards to updates on activities, the town is offering additional senior activities at the community center, including bingo morning on the second Wednesday of each month and movie mornings on the fourth Wednesday, beginning tomorrow with Grumpy Old Men. February highlights include the War Memorial Library book sale from February 1st to 7th, live music and open mic events at the Microbrasserie Cardinal on February 1st, the Mona Turner Vernissage at the Hudson Creative Hub on February 8th, a sing-along evening fundraiser for the reconstruction of St. James Church at the Hudson Village Theatre on February 10th. The movie is The Sound of Music. The AHA, so that's a Hudson Artist Association General Meeting, is on February 18th, and the town will be holding the Shiverfest on February 21st. There are, of course, always other events that you can find on our schedule online. On committees, councillors were nominated on various committees on December 15th. This evening, members of council will be nominated to the Demolition Committee. The call for candidacies for the Economic Development Committee closed yesterday with 18 candidates. Interviews and selections are underway, and appointments will be presented at the February 24th council meeting. A call for the Ad hoc Horticulture and Public Landscape Design Committee also closed yesterday. I believe that the number of applicants is 10. This advisory committee will develop practical guidelines for public landscaping aligned with Hudson's character and upcoming projects. The cultural policy was adopted on October 1st and is now on the town's website. Working meetings are underway with the Hudson Arts and Culture Council, and the Environment Committee met on January 20th. So I'll let Mark here give us an update on that committee.
Thanks, Chloe. So being the first meeting of the year for us and the new mandate, we went over our 2025 environment achievements, and we have some of our projects for 2026, which aren't just environment committee only, it's just environment focus that the town itself is working on. So for our 2025 environmental achievements, implemented the ash tree action plan, felled 237 dead trees and 212 ash trees, adopted the natural areas conservation plan, began discussions with the Environment Committee regarding gas leaf blower elimination phase-out plan, a tree policy, pesticide bylaw review, supported the Conseil du bassin versant de la région de Vaudreuil-Soulanges, Courbavet-VS, to control water chestnut, which is an invasive exotic plant species working its way down the Ottawa River. Received the official Audubon International certificates from the Falcon and Como golf courses and recertification for Whitlock. Began negotiations with NCC to require the CLERK-Sydenham Natural Reserve. Published the second Hudson Eco-Educational Fact Sheet about remarkable trees. Distributed to residents 172 potted trees, 100 milkweed and 100 ground clover seeds, 100 pollinator-friendly flower seed packets, and 67 tons of compost. Participated in several round tables for waste management, Partners for Climate Protection programs, participated in World Migratory Bird Day run by the Nichoir, Earth Day and Hudson Day, published multiple leaflets and environmentally themed letters through our newsletter and the Hudson Voice, awarded the second environmental student grant to Maxime Di Battista, among other things. And for our 2026 projects that are on the go, of course, we'll have an input on the management and conservation plan for Sandy Beach. We'll be working on our eco corridors plan, tree policy, public tree inventory, the creation of volunteer resident groups, to monitor trails, and the Phragmites control of the Como Gardens cattail marsh. We're working towards a mitigation measures for the Japanese knotweed control on Mount Victoria. We'll certainly be talking about the septic system management plan, pesticide bylaw update. I'm sure some input for the ad hoc horticultural and municipal landscape designs, the leaf blower phase out, and waste management will continue to stay on our radar.
An ambitious group, very busy and very ambitious.
It's a great
lovely
group.
to have
really
you. I see Ariane is in the room, so one of our EC, we call it the EC committee, is here with us. So thank you for your hard work and for being so engaged. Of course, TPAC and the Seniors Committee will resume in February. District meetings have started. Mark had his district meeting last Wednesday, and tomorrow, I believe, Reed Thompson, so District 4, will be here at 7 p.m., I believe. Yep. And Coffee with the Mayor returns this Saturday, January 31st at Hull Crow, starting at 10 a.m. So before moving to our agenda, there are a couple of items that I'd like to remind everyone on. One is the placement of bins, so garbage bins, recycling bins. With the snow and the snow plows, it's really important that the bins be set back so that when there is any snow removal operations, when they plow, rather than the snowbanks sort of kicking over the bins, it's important that you set them back so it's 1 meter from the road. So that's like a very big step if you want to use without bringing out your measuring tape, but also to separate your bins to make sure that there is a minimum distance of 12 inches between your bins. This will allow for the automatic arm to get in there and to pick up the bin. So again, set it back from the street and make sure that there is room on either side of the bin so that the arms can pick them up. One of the elements that I wanted to bring up as well is the notion of heritage. So in 2021, there was a reform to the Quebec loi sur le patrimoine culturel, which was adopted following a province-wide assessment and public understanding over the rapid and often irreversible loss of historical buildings. This was highlighted by high-profile demolitions, where the Auditor General's findings and sustained pressure from heritage organizations. In response, the government shifted from an optional to a preventative and mandatory heritage governance framework, and as part of this reform, all MRCs are now legally required to produce and adopt an inventory of buildings constructed before 1940 with heritage potential, and this must be adopted by April 1st of 2026. So we're going through this at the regional level, and the intent is to ensure that the heritage value is identified before redevelopment or demolition pressures arise rather than after the fact. This new framework strengthens demolition controls, transparency and consultation requirements, and clarifies municipal and MRC responsibilities for heritage protection. It also reflects a clear provincial recognition that Quebec's built heritage has been structurally underprotected and needs a more rigorous forward-looking regime. So just to let you know, Hudson is the municipality in our region that has the highest number of buildings on the list to date. So far, there are 333 buildings that have been inventoried that date from 1940 or before. And again, the question now is on how will the owners be notified, and also what will be the process or the procedure with regards to any moves. Of course, renovations, improvements are allowed, any maintaining of the building is allowed, and any changes to the building will have to maintain the historical integrity and value of the building. So all of that, there's going to be more information coming from the MRC. There will be more public meetings from the MRC to come on this, because ultimately the burden will lie on them. But it's pretty massive. So just to let you know that this is a big change. It's coming rapidly, and you will be hearing about this more. So with that, we now move on to this evening's agenda. So item 1.1, adoption of the agenda. This resolution is that the agenda of the regular council meeting of January 27th, 2026 be and is hereby adopted as submitted en français.
1.1, adoption de l'ordre du jour. Cette résolution vise à ce que l'ordre du jour de la séance ordinaire du Conseil du 27 janvier 2026 soit adopté tel que soumis.
Merci. Do I have a mover to my right? Matt Stenberg, supported to my left by Reed Thompson. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. Section 2, confirmation of minutes. Item 2.1, confirmation of minutes. This resolution is that the minutes of the council meeting held on December 1st, December 15th at 7 p.m. and December 15th at 7:30 p.m. be and are hereby approved as submitted en français.
2.1, approbation des procès-verbaux. Cette résolution vise à ce que les procès-verbaux des séances du Conseil du 1er décembre 2025, du 15 décembre 2025, 19h et du 15 décembre 2025, 19h30 soient approuvés par les présents tels que soumis.
Merci. Do I have a mover to my right? Bob Johnson, supported by Peter Mate. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. So starting right away with the first question period, I remind you that we will alternate between the two from in the room to online. There are 21 people online and there are 5 people in the room. So Tara Guillon, I hope I've said your name correctly. Please go ahead.
Hi, yes. Oh, okay, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, perfect. So my question was about the Parks and Rec, and wondering if the town has started to have any concrete plans for improvements to our parks and playgrounds, especially the spaces for our teens. And if so, would the town be willing to work with, or the Parks and Rec be willing to work with some local residents to possibly gather a survey from our local youth, maybe the ages 10 and up, to see what they would like to see in the community, and then maybe work with the school to provide a survey to those students and possibly maybe a youth council? Just a question. That's it.
Yeah, thank you very much, Tara. Last year, we went through a rather extensive process in the elaboration of the master plan for parks and green spaces. You can find the final plan on our town's website. Different categories or different types of groups and recreation users were consulted, but definitely what is certainly something that I'm noticing in all of our committees that is missing is a sort of a tracking committee for this master plan. We have, if you want, a committee that follows the seniors policy. We have a committee that's the environment committee will, follows the conservation plan. We have a cultural committee that is helping us with the cultural policy and action plan. But what is missing is really something more at the recreation level. So we've started with the horticultural group, but I do see that there is a need much more on the recreational level. And that's something that I would expect that in February, March, we will start to put together. So do look that up, and we will probably put out a call for candidacies in the next few weeks. I would say more towards the end of February. I'm going to be gone for 10 days in February, but I would think that's it. But so please keep an eye out for that. Otherwise, we have set aside $20,000 per year in our PTI for the improvement of parks. And right now we are completing the Cambridge pickleball court area, but there's also sort of slides and swings and some play equipment in that park that will be completed early on in the spring. And I certainly am pushing so that there would be the beginning of the planning for the park in what we call Whitlock. It's not Whitlock, it's, help me, Phase 1 Willowbrook, another W. So Willowbrook Phase 1, which is Osakawa Park. The issue there is that it is overlaid with an archaeological site, so we need to make sure that whatever we plan there is in alignment with preserving the artifacts that are under the ground. Did you have a follow-up question? Tara, if you wanted a follow-up question, you could ask.
I guess more if there's anything in the central area. I get Willowbrook, that's out towards, moving more east, correct? From the town center? So
Yes.
the town center itself, like wondering if there was an idea, because the pickleball court is more at Falcon, is it not?
You're
In that area?
correct. Yep. No,
Correct.
that's
So
very
part of
accurate.
Central area is what I was thinking, is that there is something, for the teenagers, or, whether there was a skate park on the idea, or a pump track, or more in that lines of the older kids. Like we have Benson Park for the younger ones, St. Thomas, Mount Pleasant, all can accommodate younger kids, but our teens are lacking maybe a space for them to hang out outside.
So that's the sports hub that is being proposed for behind St. Thomas. Again, if you look at the parks plan, you'll see it there. It is multi-sport, and I'm going from memory. There was sort of a, do you remember?
There was kind of like a skate zone that was going to be proposed, but that's supposed to go in the multi-generational park in Benson.
Yeah. So I would say that that's not for 2027, but certainly coming up, Tara. So please look at it and do reach out again. Reed and Mark are sort of the younger, I guess, parents on the group, and the ones that were really following the whole skateboard and all of that and certainly pushing for it as well. But what we've come to find is that we don't have the space or the means to have full tracks or full parks for all of those events. We're going to have to sort of pick and choose. We already have done some sort of selection through the recommendations of the consultant, and certainly those would need to be planned forward. So the next step would be to design those parks with, of course, the input of the community on the actual design of those parks.
Okay, amazing. Thank you.
You're welcome. Is there a question in the room? No. Online, Bernard, please go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to 2026. I just want to add that for February 1st, we've got the Hudson Chamber Music continuing at St. James Hall in the afternoon, where we have a violist and a cellist. And so there's a unique combination of instruments that will be playing a number of interesting works, including the first one by Beethoven, where the instruction is to wear glasses while playing this music. In any case, the cellist has a cello that's more than 300 years old, so just by itself, that would be interesting. But we should have a very nice afternoon.
And at what time is that, Bernard?
That's 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock?
At St. James Hall. That's
and
right.
Can you get your tickets at the door?
Tickets, well, you can pay admission at the door. We don't really need tickets once you pay admission. And it's also possible to use e-transfer and buy a ticket in advance if that's useful to anyone.
And how much are the tickets at the door?
They're $25.
Perfect.
Yes.
Thank you.
And just to add, following that concert, there's a jazz something going on at Cardinal. So that could make a really interesting afternoon and early evening.
The Sunday jazz, you're right, to bring those up, are really high quality. I dropped in by mistake on one of them and thoroughly enjoyed my time there. But I wish you a happy event. I'll see if I can make it, but I certainly invite anyone else. Cello is a beautiful, beautiful instrument. Right. And I love that you are using the intergenerational aspect, and what a great venue as well.
Well, this is I can tell you the cellist is in demand all across Quebec. He's never been to Hudson. It's Stéphane Tétrault. And for people who know him, they're saying, oh, wow, he's coming. Wow. Anyway, so we're looking forward to that.
Thank you, Bernard. I appreciate it. Are there any other questions? I see someone getting up in the room.
Bonjour tout le monde.
Bonjour. Votre nom et votre rue, s'il vous plaît.
Luc Dionne, sur la rue Birchill. J'aimerais que le Conseil prenne le temps de remercier spécifiquement les personnes qui s'occupent de l'entretien des pistes de ski de fond sur Whitlock. Cette année, c'est sûr, on a eu de la neige, mais le travail est bien fait. Nous, on apprécie en tout cas. Puis encore après-midi, il y avait quand même plusieurs personnes. C'est du bon travail.
Merci beaucoup.
J'aimerais, dans le même sens, peut-être que dans le bulletin qui est envoyé le vendredi par la Ville, la communication qui est envoyée par courriel, qu'on mentionne ces pistes-là, mais qu'on encourage les marcheurs de ne pas marcher dans les pistes. Et ceux qui ont des chiens, de garder leurs chiens aussi en dehors des pistes. Je pense que la Ville investit du temps de ses employés, du matériel pour faire du bon travail. Je pense qu'il y a assez de place pour marcher à côté des pistes.
Est-ce que vous êtes inscrit à l'infolettre qui est spécifique, oui, au sentier? Parce que ça aussi, mais je suis d'accord avec vous qu'on pourrait faire une mention additionnelle pour le fait que les piétons embarquent sur les pistes. Merci beaucoup pour la mention positive. I'm sure Vanessa will take this down. It's always nice to receive positive and supportive comments. Are there any other questions online? There are now 22 in attendance online, and an additional person came into the room. Hello, Liz. So moving on to Section 3, Urban Planning and Environment. Item 3.1, SPAPE approval for January of 2026. Peter Meat.
All right. So 3.1, whereas the requests were reviewed by the Town Planning Advisory Committee at the meeting held on December 16, 2026, and this is to approve the SPAPE of the following projects. 102 McNaughton, major renovation works, unanimous approval. 450 Main, major renovation works, unanimous approval as well.
En français.
3.1, approbation des PIA, janvier 2026, considérant que les demandes ont été analysées par le CCU lors de la rencontre du 16 décembre 2025, cette résolution a pour but d'approuver le PIA relatif aux demandes suivantes. 102 McNaughton, travaux de rénovation majeure, approbation à l'unanimité. 450 Main, travaux de rénovation majeure, approbation à l'unanimité.
Merci. Do I have a mover to my right? Peter Mate, seconded to my left by Reed Thompson. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. Item 3.2, 289 Main, SPAPE, major renovations.
Whereas a permit request was received for major renovation works at 289 Main, whereas bylaw number 571 concerning the site planning and architectural integration programs, SPAPE indicates objectives and criteria to fulfill for this type of permit application. Whereas the Town Planning Advisory Committee's unanimous recommendation to partially approve the SPAPE in support of the permit request. Whereas the decision of the Town Council can only be approval or refusal and that partial approval is not possible. Whereas the following criteria are not met: to comply with the building's specific architectural characteristics during the work along with its specific and overall characteristics, to preserve the architectural character of the buildings of interest, to ensure the architectural elements respect the architectural character of the building. En français.
En français. Oui, en français. 3.2, 289 Main, PIA, rénovation majeure. Considérant qu'une demande de permis a été reçue pour des travaux de rénovation majeure pour le 289 rue Maine, considérant que le règlement 571 sur les plans d'implantation et d'intégration architecturale, PIA, indique des objectifs et critères à respecter pour une demande de ce type, considérant la recommandation unanime du Comité consultatif d'urbanisme d'approuver partiellement le PIA relatif à la demande de permis, considérant que la décision du Conseil municipal ne peut être qu'une approbation ou un refus et qu'une approbation partielle n'est pas possible, considérant que les critères suivants ne sont pas remplis, respecter les caractéristiques propres à l'architecture du bâtiment ainsi que ses caractéristiques particulières et d'ensemble, préserver le caractère architectural des bâtiments d'intérêt, assurer que les éléments architecturaux respectent le caractère architectural du bâtiment. Cette résolution a pour but de refuser le PIA relatif à la demande de permis pour le 289 rue Maine.
So just to complete the portion that was read in English, this resolution is to refuse the SPAPE of the permit request at 289 Main. Do I have a proposer to my right? Bob Johnson, a seconder to my left. Mark Gray, my goodness. Are there any objections, I'm sorry, Mark, to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is adopted unanimously. I think it's like my New Year's sort of breaking the ice kind of thing. Yeah, maybe. Item 3.3, 196 Main, SPAPE, accessory building. Peter?
Whereas a permit request was received for an accessory building at 196 Main, whereas bylaw number 571 concerning the site planning and architectural integration programs indicates the objectives and criteria to fulfill for this type of permit application. Whereas the Town Planning and Advisory Committee's unanimous recommendation to refuse the SPAPE in support of the permit request. Whereas the following criteria are not met: to preserve the architectural and rural character of outdoor spaces to be in harmony with neighboring buildings and the environment, to ensure the architectural elements respect the architectural character of the building, to preserve the architectural and rural character to highlight the building, to ensure that the side setbacks are sufficient to maintain viewpoints from the public street. This is to refuse the SPAPE of the permit request at 196 Main.
3.3, 196 Main, PIA, bâtiment accessoire. Considérant qu'une demande de permis a été reçue pour un bâtiment accessoire, le 196 rue Main, considérant que le règlement 571 sur les plans d'implantation et d'intégration architecturale PIIA indique des objectifs et critères à respecter pour une demande de ce type, considérant la recommandation unanime du Comité consultatif d'urbanisme de refuser le PIIA relatif à la demande de permis, considérant que les critères suivants ne sont pas remplis. Préserver le caractère architectural et champêtre de façon à être en harmonie avec les bâtiments et le secteur environnant, assurer que les éléments architecturaux respectent le caractère architectural du bâtiment, préserver le caractère architectural et champêtre de façon à mettre en valeur le bâtiment, s'assurer que les marges latérales soient suffisantes pour maintenir les points de vue à partir de la rue publique. Cette résolution a pour but de refuser le PIA relatif à la demande de permis pour le 196 rue Main.
Merci. Do I have a mover to my right? Peter Mate, supported by Matt Stenberg. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. Item 3.4, 894 Main, SPAPE, accessory building.
Whereas a permit request was received for an accessory building at 894 Main, whereas the Town Planning and Advisory Committee's unanimous recommendation to refuse the SPAPE in support of the permit request, to approve the, this is to approve the SPAPE of the permit request at 894 Main at the following condition: that the siding of the shed be the same as the siding on the main building.
3.4, 894 Main, PIIA, bâtiment accessoire. Considérant qu'une demande de permis a été reçue pour un bâtiment accessoire pour le 894 rue Main, considérant la recommandation unanime du Comité consultatif d'urbanisme de refuser le PIA relatif à la demande de permis, cette résolution a pour but d'approuver le PIA relatif à la demande de permis pour le 894 rue Main à la condition suivante: que le revêtement de la remise soit du même revêtement que sur le bâtiment principal.
Merci. Do I have a mover to my right? Peter Mate, supported to my left by Reed Thompson. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. Item 3.5 relates to 400 Main, SPAPE addition. As Councillor Peter Mate has an interest in the matter and issue, he must recuse himself from this resolution at 7:38 p.m. So Matt Stenberg, will you read the resolution?
3.5, whereas a permit request was received for an addition at 400 Main, whereas bylaw number 571 concerning site planning and architectural integration programs indicates objectives and criteria to fulfill this type of permit application, whereas the Town Planning Advisory Committee's unanimous recommendation to refuse the SPAPE in support of a permit request, whereas the following criteria were not met: to comply with the building-specific architectural characteristics during the work, along with the specific and overall characteristics, to ensure the architectural elements respect the architectural character of the building. It was moved to refuse the SPAPE of the permit request at 400 Main.
En français.
3.5, 400 rue Main, PIIA, agrandissement. considérant qu'une demande de permis a été reçue pour un agrandissement pour le 400 rue Maine, considérant que le règlement 571 sur les plans d'implantation et d'intégration architecturale PIIA indique des objectifs et critères à respecter pour une demande de ce type, considérant la recommandation unanime du Comité consultatif d'urbanisme de refuser le PIIA relatif à la demande de permis, considérant que les critères suivants ne sont pas remplis, respecter les caractéristiques propres à l'architecture du bâtiment ainsi que les caractéristiques particulières et d'ensemble, assurer que les éléments architecturaux respectent le caractère architectural du bâtiment. Cette résolution a pour but de refuser le PIA relatif à la demande de permis pour le 400 rue Maine.
Merci. Do we have a mover to my right? Matt Stenberg, supported by Bob Johnson. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. I note that Councillor Peter Mate returns to his seat at 7:40 p.m. Item 3.6, Appointment Demolition Committee Members. Whereas the committee is composed of 3 council members, whereas the duration of the mandate is fixed at 1 year and is renewable, this resolution is to appoint Reid Thompson, Councillor of District 4, Fairhaven, as member and chair for a term of 1 year beginning on January 1st of 2026, to appoint Mark Gray, Councillor of District 5, Heights East, as member for a term of 1 year beginning on January 1st of 2026, to appoint Robert Johnson, Councillor of District 1, Como, as member for a term of 1 year beginning on January 1st of 2026, to appoint Matt Stenberg, Councillor of District 2, Hudson East, as substitute member for a term of 1 year beginning on January 1st, and to appoint Darren Legault, Councillor of District 6, Hudson West, as second substitute member for a term of 1 year beginning on January 1st of 2026.
3.6, nomination membre du comité de démolition. Considérant que le comité est composé de 3 membres du conseil, considérant que la durée des mandats est d'1 an et est renouvelable, cette résolution vise de nommer Reid Thompson, conseiller du district 4 Fairhaven, à titre de membre président pour un terme d'1 an qui débute le 1er janvier 2026, de nommer Mark Gray, conseiller du district 5 Est, à titre de membre pour un terme d'1 an qui débute le 1er janvier 2026, de nommer Robert Johnson, conseiller du district 1 Como, à titre de membre pour un terme d'1 an qui débute le 1er janvier 2026, de nommer Matthew Stenberg, conseiller du district 2 Hudson S, à titre de membre substitut pour un terme d'1 an qui débute le 1er janvier 2026, de nommer Darren Legault, conseiller du district 6 Hudson West, à titre de 2e membre substitut pour un terme d'1 an qui débute le 1er janvier 2026.
Merci. So the proposer, I'm guessing, would be Peter Mate. You're the only one who's not named. Est-ce que vous voulez que je sois celle qui seconde, qui appuie? Donc, appuyé par moi-même. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. The reason we have so many substitutes is that we've done this in the past. It really helps when sometimes there's just a really narrow window, and some of us are full-time at work, and it makes it a little bit difficult to meet the dates. So this just ensures that we have better, I guess, service for this purpose. Item 3.7, withdrawal, notice of intent to declare jurisdiction over certain sections of the permanent regime by the MRC de Vaudreuil-Soulanges, Decree 719-2025. Whereas the MRC de Vaudreuil-Soulanges may, pursuant to sections 678.0.1 and following of the Municipal Code of Quebec, declare its jurisdiction to assume certain responsibilities normally entrusted to local municipalities, unless the latter exercise their right of withdrawal. Whereas Resolution 25-10-22-15 of the MRC de Vaudreuil-Soulanges announced its intention to declare jurisdiction for the implementation of Sections 44, 45, 46 in part, 48, 49, 50, and 51 of the REAAMHOPI, which is the regulation respecting regulatory measures for activities under the responsibility of municipalities carried out in bodies of water and on flood protection work. This resolution is that the town exercise its right of withdrawal from the notice of intent to declare jurisdiction over certain sections of the regulation respecting the oversight of activities under municipal responsibility carried out in bodies of water and on flood protection works, in accordance with Resolution 25-10-22-15 of the MRC de Vaudreuil-Soulanges.
3.7. Retrait de la Ville, avis d'intention de déclaration de compétence sur certains articles du régime permanent par la MRC de Vaudreuil-Soulanges, décret numéro 719-2025. Considérant que la MRC de Vaudreuil-Soulanges peut, en vertu des articles 678.0.1 et suivants du Code municipal du Québec, déclarer sa compétence pour assurer certaines responsabilités normalement confiées aux municipalités locales, à moins que celles-ci n'exercent leur droit de retrait, considérant la résolution 25-10-22-15 de la MRC de Vaudreuil-Soulanges, par laquelle a annoncé son intention de déclarer sa compétence pour la mise en œuvre des articles 44, 45, 46, en partie 48, 49, 50 et 51 du REAAMHOPI, qui est le règlement sur l'encadrement d'activités sous la responsabilité des municipalités réalisées dans les milieux hydriques et sur des ouvrages de protection contre les inondations. Cette résolution vise à ce que la Ville exerce son droit de retrait à l'avis d'intention de déclaration de compétence sur certains articles du règlement sur l'encadrement d'activités sous la responsabilité des municipalités réalisées dans les milieux hydriques et sur des ouvrages de protection contre les inondations, et ce, conformément à la résolution 25-10-22-15 de la MRC de Vaudreuil-Soulanges.
Merci. Do I have a proposer to my left? Darren Legault, supported by Reed Thompson. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. So essentially, through this resolution, we've signaled that we wish to retain the local control with regards to responsibilities on certain hydric, so water environments, and our permitting powers. For 3.8, tabling of TPAC minutes, August and September of 2025, members of council take note of the tabling of the Town Planning Advisory Committee minutes. En français.
3.8, dépôt du procès-verbal du CCU à août et septembre 2025. Les membres du Conseil prennent acte du dépôt des procès-verbaux du Comité consultatif d'urbanisme.
Merci. Item 3.9, tabling of monthly reports for permits issued September to December 2025. Members of council take note of the tabling of the monthly reports for permits issued by the Urban Planning Department.
3.9, dépôt du rapport mensuel des permis émis, septembre à décembre 2025. Les membres du Conseil prennent acte du dépôt des rapports mensuels des permis émis du service de l'urbanisme.
Section 4, Administration and Finance. Item 4.1, approval of disbursements for January of 2026. This resolution is to approve the following disbursements as of January 15th of 2026 as presented, for a subtotal of $1,828,730.44 with 3 payrolls, payroll 25, for $136,073.58. Payroll number 26 is $199,755.75. And the first payroll for the new year of $142,710.13, for a total of accounts paid of $2,307,269.90. En français.
4.1, approbation des paiements janvier 2026. Cette résolution a pour but d'approuver le paiement des comptes au 15 janvier 2026 tel que présenté pour un sous-total des paiements d'1 828 730,44, comprenant 3 périodes de paye, la paye 25, 136 073,58, la paye 26, 199 755,75 et la paye 1, 142 710,13 pour un total des comptes à payer de 2 307 269,90.
Do I have a proposer to my left? Mark Gray, supported to my right by Peter Mate. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. Item 4.2, awarding of contract by mutual agreement. This is for computer equipment upgrade. Considering that several workstations and office equipment must be replaced to ensure the continuity, safety, and efficiency of municipal services, this resolution is to authorize the purchase of computer equipment in the amount of $13,855.13 before taxes from Solutions IT Aide Inc., and that these expenses totaling $13,855.13 be financed by a loan from the Working Capital Fund for a 5-year term.
4.2, octroi de contrat de gré à gré, mise à niveau d'équipement informatique. Considérant que plusieurs postes de travail et équipements de bureau doivent être remplacés afin d'assurer la continuité, la sécurité et l'efficacité des services municipaux, cette résolution a pour but d'autoriser l'achat des équipements informatiques au montant de 13 855,13 avant taxe à la compagnie Solutions ITED Inc., que ces dépenses totalisant 13 855,13 soient financées par un emprunt au fonds de roulement pour un terme de 5 ans.
Do I have a mover to my right? Bob Johnson, supported to my left by Reed Thompson. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. Item 4.3, payment of invoices for maintenance and support costs for PG Solutions applications. So PG Solutions is our central software for expenses and tracking revenues at the town. Whereas the town is bound by application maintenance and support agreements, CESA, C-E-S-A, with its municipal software provider, which are essential to the proper functioning of municipal operations. Whereas the town has received official notice of an annual increase applicable to these contracts for the year of 2026, and that the annual increase announced for all of the software covered is 4.8%. This resolution is to authorize payment of the 4.8 annual increase applicable to application maintenance and support contracts, so CESA, for the year 2026 for the supplier PG Solutions, and that this expenditure in the amount of $51,772 before applicable taxes be charged to the appropriations provided for in the 2026 operating budget.
4.3, paiement de facture des frais d'entretien et de soutien des applications de PG Solutions. Considérant que la Ville est liée par des contrats d'entretien et de soutien des applications CESA avec son fournisseur de logiciels municipaux, essentiel au bon fonctionnement des opérations municipales, considérant que la Ville a reçu un avis officiel d'augmentation annuelle applicable à ses contrats pour l'année 2026 et que l'augmentation annuelle annoncée pour l'ensemble des logiciels visés est de 4,8 %, cette résolution a pour but d'autoriser le paiement de l'augmentation annuelle de 4,8 % applicable au contrat d'entretien et de soutien des applications CESA pour l'année 2026 par le fournisseur PG Solutions. Que cette dépense, au montant de 51 772 $ avant les taxes applicables, soit imputée au crédit prévu au budget d'opération 2026.
Merci. Do I have a mover to my right? Matt Stenberg, supported by Peter Mate. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. Section 5, Town Clerk. Item 5.1, Officiant for Marriage or Civil Union, Application for Designation. Whereas Councillor Robert Johnson wishes to be granted the authorization to perform marriages or civil unions within the town of Hudson, the resolution is that the town of Hudson apply to the Minister of Justice in order to authorize and designate Councillor Robert Johnson as officiant to perform marriages or civil unions on the town's territory for the duration of the current term until November 2029.
5.1, célébrant pour mariage ou union civile, demande de désignation. Considérant que le conseiller Robert Johnson désire célébrer des mariages ou des unions civiles sur le territoire de la ville d'Hudson, cette résolution vise à ce que la ville d'Hudson demande au ministère de la Justice de désigner le conseiller Robert Johnson célébrant compétent pour célébrer des mariages ou des unions civiles sur le territoire de la municipalité pour la durée du présent mandat, soit jusqu'en novembre 2029.
Merci. Do I have a proposer to my left? Darren Legault, supported by Mark Gray. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. So we all can be officiants as long as we are elected in Hudson. To date, in the last term, I believe I was up to around 9 or 10 celebrations. And as I mentioned earlier, I will be away from the 7th until the 17th for the birth of my second grandchild. Darren will be pro-mayor. But Bob Johnson kindly agreed and volunteered to be the celebrant to the next wedding that will be taking place on February 14th at Halcrow. So thank you again, Bob, for taking this on. And we've already met the soon-to-be newlyweds together and their lovely residents from Bellevue, on Bellevue Street. So this is always a lovely occasion for us. Item 5.2, authorization to sign cancellation of notices of preemptive rights. Whereas on August 7th of 2023, the town adopted Resolution R 2023-08-193 in order to subject, in particular, lots 3080938, 3080940, 3080941, 3080947, 3080948, 3810765, and 6359848 of the Cadastre of Quebec to the preemptive rights. Whereas on August 18th, 2025, the town adopted Resolution R 2025-08-203 authorizing the town clerk to sign under the prescribed conditions all documents required to acquire lots 3080938, 3080940, 3080941, 3080947, 3080948, 3810765, and 6359848 of the Cadastre of Quebec. All of these lots form the site known as Sandy Beach site. En français.
5.2,
Ah, j'ai pas fini de
autorisation.
le lire. Tu veux que je finisse de le lire? Est-ce que j'ai pas fini?
Oui, la fin.
I'll complete. Sorry, it goes on and I read these numbers again. So this resolution is that the town, je m'excuse, that the town council authorized the town clerk, or in her absence, the assistant town clerk, to sign for and on behalf of the town all legal documents required for the cancellation of the notices, all legal documents required for the cancellation of the notices of liability to the preemptive rights published in the Land Register with respect to lots 3080938, 080940308094730809483810765 and 6359848 of the Cadastre of Quebec, and that all legal documents required for the acquisition of said lots, as authorized by Resolution R 2025-08-208, may also be signed by the town clerk or, in her absence, by the assistant town clerk. Je m'excuse.
5.2, autorisation de signature, radiation des avis d'assujettissement aux droits de préemption. Considérant que le 7 août 2023, la Ville a adopté la résolution R 2023-08-193 afin d'assujettir notamment les lots 3 080 938, 3 080 940, 3 080 941, 3 080 947, 3 080 948, 3 810 765 et 6 359 848 du Cadastre du Québec aux droits de préemption. Considérant que le 18 août 2025, la Ville a adopté la résolution R 2025-08-203, autorisant la greffière à signer, aux conditions prévues, tous les documents nécessaires pour acquérir les lots 3 080 938, 3 080 940, 3 080 941, 3 080 947, 3 080 948, 3 810 765 et 6 359 848 du Cadastre du Québec. Cette résolution vise à ce que le Conseil de Ville autorise la greffière ou, en son absence, la greffière adjointe à signer pour et au nom de la Ville tous les documents légaux nécessaires à la radiation des avis d'assujettissement aux droits de préemption publiés au registre foncier sur les lots 3 080 938, 3 080 940, 3 080 941, 3 080 947, 3 080 948, 3 810 765 et 6 359 848 du Cadastre du Québec, que la signature de tous les documents légaux nécessaires à l'acquisition des dix lots autorisés par la résolution R 2025-08-203 puisse aussi être signée par la greffière ou, en son absence, par la greffière adjointe.
Merci beaucoup, René. Toujours amusant. To my left is our proposer, so Reed Thompson, supported by Mark Gray. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is adopted unanimously. Section 6, Human Resources. Item 6.1, Organizational Restructuring. Whereas general management, in collaboration with the directors of the various departments, have identified operational challenges warranting an analysis of organizational and departmental performance. Whereas the achievement of these operational objectives require the restructuring of two departments. This resolution is to approve and to merge the Communications Division with Culture and Recreation Department, to create a new department entitled Culture, Recreation, and Community Engagement, thereby replacing the existing Culture and Recreation Department, to create the position of Director of Culture, Recreation, and Community Engagement, and to create the position of Division Head of Recreation and Events within the Culture, Recreation, and Community Engagement Department, to create the position of Division Head of Permits and Inspection within the Urban Planning Department, to appoint Ms. Laura McCaffrey as Director of Culture, Recreation, and Community Engagement, with the responsibilities attached to the position as set out in the corresponding job description. To appoint Ms. Elizabeth Wainwright as Division Head of Recreation and Events, with the responsibilities attached to the position as set out in the corresponding job description. To approve the revision of the organizational chart reflecting the foregoing, including all positions and titles provided for therein, which will take effect immediately upon adoption of this resolution. To authorize the Director General to finalize for and on behalf of the town the terms and conditions of appointment for the above positions, where applicable, as well as to execute any documents required to give effect to this resolution.
6.1 Réorganisation administrative. Considérant que la Direction générale, en collaboration avec les directeurs des différents services, a identifié des enjeux opérationnels nécessitant une analyse de la performance organisationnelle et départementale, considérant que l'atteinte de ces objectifs opérationnels requiert la restructuration de 2 services, cette résolution a pour but d'approuver la fusion de la division des communications avec le service de la culture et des loisirs, de créer un nouveau service intitulé « Culture, loisirs et engagement communautaire », remplaçant ainsi le service de la culture et des loisirs, de créer le poste de directrice de la culture, des loisirs et de l'engagement communautaire, de créer le poste de chef de division loisirs et événements au sein du service de la culture, loisirs et engagement communautaire, de créer le poste de chef de division permis et inspection au sein du service de l'urbanisme, de nommer Mme Laura McCaffrey au poste de directrice de la culture, des loisirs et de l'engagement communautaire avec les responsabilités reliées au poste telles que décrites dans la description de tâches, de nommer Mme Elizabeth Wainwright au poste de chef de division, loisirs et événements avec les responsabilités reliées au poste telles que décrites dans la description de tâches, d'approuver la révision de l'organigramme reflétant ce qui précède, incluant tous les postes et titres qui y sont prévus, laquelle entrera en vigueur immédiatement à l'adoption de la présente résolution, d'autoriser la directrice générale à finaliser, pour et au nom de la Ville, les modalités et conditions de nomination pour les postes susmentionnés, le cas échéant, ainsi qu'à signer tout document requis pour donner effet à la présente résolution.
Merci. Do I have a mover to my left? Reed Thompson, supported to my right by Matt Stenberg. Are there any objections? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. So I'd like to thank everyone for this process. It has been certainly, I think, very interesting from our vantage point, and we know that each department is strengthened through this process, and we look forward to continuing to work with you. Thank you, Laura, for taking on this challenge as well. We know that communications and public participation or public engagement are certainly at the heart of a lot of the concerns and interests of this community. So for us, this is definitely a very structuring move, and we thank Vanessa Roach for bringing us through to this point. So thank you. Item 6.2, signature authorization, Canada Summer Jobs Program 2026. Considering that the summer jobs offered in the town of Hudson meet the objectives of the Canada Summer Jobs Program, this resolution is to authorize a representative of the Human Resources Department to sign documents related to the Canada Summer Jobs Program for and on behalf of the town.
6.2 Autorisation de signature, programme Emploi-été Canada 2026. Considérant que les emplois d'été offerts à la Ville d'Hudson répondent aux critères du programme d'Emploi-été Canada, EEC, cette résolution a pour but d'autoriser un représentant de la Direction des ressources humaines à signer les documents en lien avec le programme Emploi d'été Canada pour et au nom de la Ville.
Do we have a mover to my left? Darren Legault, supported by Mark Gray. I almost called you Mark Thompson. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. Just checking to make sure everybody's paying attention. Item 6.3, Annual Salary Indexation Management Employees 2026. Whereas the indexing established in Section 13.11 of the collective agreement for the employees of the town of Hudson is 2.3% for the year of 2026. This resolution is to approve the indexation provided in the Politique des conditions de travail des cadres de la Ville de Hudson.
6.3, indexation salaire annuel employé cadre 2026. Considérant que l'indexation établie à l'article 13.11 de la Convention collective des employés de la Ville d'Hudson est de 2,3 % pour l'année 2026, cette résolution a pour but d'approuver l'indexation conformément à la politique des conditions de travail des cadres de la Ville d'Hudson.
I see Darren's hand is already up, so he's proposing. Is there a seconder to my right? Bob Johnson. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. Item 6.4, fixed-term contract analysis and optimization mandate for information technology coordinator. Considering the increase in IT support and systems management needs within the organization, this resolution is to hire Ms. Nathalie Morin in accordance with the agreed terms and conditions, and that the terms of said service contract shall be for a fixed period of 6 months on the basis of 7 hours per week.
6.4, contrat à durée déterminée. Mandat d'analyse et d'optimisation, coordinateur des technologies de l'information. Considérant l'augmentation des besoins en soutien informatique et en gestion des systèmes au sein de l'organisation, cette résolution a pour but d'embaucher Mme Nathalie Morin selon les modalités convenues, que la durée du dit contrat de service soit d'une durée de 6 mois sur une base de 7 heures par semaine.
Do I have a proposer to my right? Peter Mate, supported by Matt Stenberg. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. Item 6.5, extension of fixed-term contract, special project management mandate. Considering that the special advisor's contract expired on September 5th of 2025, this resolution is to extend Mr. Martin Houd's services retroactively to September 6th of 2025 in accordance with the agreed terms and conditions, and that the terms of the said service contract be 15 months ending on December 31st, 2026, and shall not exceed 8 hours of service per week.
6.5, prolongation de contrat à durée déterminée, mandat de gestion des projets spéciaux. Considérant que le contrat du conseiller spécial est venu à échéance le 5 septembre 2025, cette résolution a pour but de prolonger les services de M. Martin Houd rétroactivement au 6 septembre 2025 selon les modalités convenues, que la durée du dit contrat de service soit d'une durée de 15 mois, soit jusqu'au 31 décembre 2026 sur une base de 8 heures maximum par semaine.
Do I have a mover to my left? Mark Gray, supported by Reed Thompson. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. Item 6.6, fixed-term contract, Town Clerk's Department. Whereas the Town Clerk has been absent for an indefinite period since December 8th, 2025, and the Town wishes to provide temporary support to the Department, this resolution is to hire Ms. Susan McKercher as temporary employee for a fixed term commencing on January 19th and ending upon the return of the clerk. That Ms. McKercher be appointed substitute assistant town clerk in the event of the absence or inability to act as assistant town clerk, who is presently interim town clerk. So this is René Huneau. Merci. En français.
6.6, contrat à durée déterminée au service du greffe. Considérant que la greffière est absente pour une durée indéterminée, et ce depuis le 8 décembre 2025, et que la Ville souhaite fournir un support temporaire au service, cette résolution a pour but d'embaucher Mme Suzanne McCutcher comme employée temporaire pour une durée déterminée, débutant le 19 janvier et se terminant au retour de la greffière. Que Mme McCutcher soit nommée greffière adjointe par intérim substitut en l'absence ou l'impossibilité d'agir de la greffière adjointe qui occupe par intérim le poste de greffière.
Merci. Do I have a mover to my left? Mark Gray, supported to my right by Peter Mate. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. Donc, bienvenue, Madame McCutcher. C'est toujours un plaisir de vous revoir parmi nous. Merci d'avoir accepté de nous soutenir pendant cette période. Section 7, Culture and Recreation. Item 7.1, Signing Authorization, 2026 Summer Day Camp. Whereas the town wishes to maintain an annual day camp service for the summer of 2026, this resolution is that the town accept the offer of service of Hudson Forest Play as operator of the day camp for the summer of 2026 under the terms indicated in said offer for the amount of $18,000 before taxes, and that the Director of Culture, Recreation, and Community Engagement be authorized to sign all documents required for the execution of this resolution.
7.1, autorisation de signature camp de jour été 2026. Considérant que la Ville désire maintenir le service annuel d'un camp de jour pour l'été 2026, cette résolution vise à ce que la Ville accepte l'offre de service du club de jeu de la forêt d'Hudson à titre d'opérateur du camp de jour pour l'été 2026 au terme indiqué dans la dite offre, pour le montant de 18 000 $ avant taxe. Que la directrice de la culture, des loisirs et de l'engagement communautaire soit autorisée à signer tous les documents nécessaires à l'exécution de la présente résolution.
Merci. Do I have a mover to my left? Reed Thompson, supported by Mark Gray. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. Item 7.2, Signing Authorization, March Break Day Camp 2026. Whereas the town wishes to maintain the annual Spring Break Day Camp service from March 2nd to 6th in 2026. This resolution is that the town accepts the offer of service from Hudson Forest Play as operator of the day camp for the spring break from March 2nd to 6th, 2026, on the terms indicated in said offer for a maximum of $2,500 before taxes, and that the Director of Culture, Recreation, and Community Engagement be authorized to sign all documents required for the execution of this resolution.
7.2, autorisation de signature camp semaine de relâche 2026. Considérant que la Ville désire maintenir le service annuel d'un camp de jour de la relâche du 2 au 6 mars 2026, cette résolution vise à ce que la Ville accepte l'offre de service du club de jeu de la forêt d'Hudson à titre d'opérateur du camp de jour pour la semaine de relâche du 2 au 6 mars 2026 au terme indiqué dans la dite offre pour un maximum de 2 500 $ avant taxe. Que la directrice de la culture, des loisirs et de l'engagement communautaire soit autorisée à signer tous les documents nécessaires à l'exécution de la présente résolution.
Do I have a mover to my left? Mark Gray, and supported by Reed Thompson. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. Item 7.3, Payment Authorization for Pickleball. Whereas the project to add pickleball courts to Cambridge Park required acrylic resurfacing, the purchase of sports equipment, the printing of signage, the installation of a key lock, the rental of equipment, and the addition of electrical and lighting installations. This resolution is to approve the payment of $6,465.55 before taxes to Sport Direct for the purchase of equipment for the pickleball court. To approve the payment of $11,548.62 before taxes to Indic Inc. for the acrylic resurfacing of the pickleball court. To approve the payment of $809.75 to Sport Inter Plus for the purchase of the pickleball nets. To approve the payment of $775.41 to Location André for a lift rental. To approve the payment of $194.97 to Sid Print for signage on the pickleball court. To approve the payment of $2,913.33 to Serrurier Plus for the lock system and keys for the pickleball court fence. To approve the payment of $14,558.94 to Jacques Martel Électrique for electrical and lighting installation on the pickleball court. To approve the payment of $2,050 to SBC SENC for dismantling and disposal of the playground equipment at Cambridge Park, and that these expenditures be financed from the unallocated surplus. En français.
7.3, autorisation de paiement pickleball. Considérant que le projet d'ajouter des terrains de pickleball au parc Cambridge a nécessité des travaux de resurfaçage acrylique, d'achat d'équipements sportifs, impression d'affichage, l'installation d'une serrure à clé, la location d'équipements ainsi que l'ajout d'installations électriques et d'éclairage, cette résolution a pour but d'approuver le paiement d'un montant de 6 465,55 $ avant taxe à Sport Direct pour l'achat d'équipements pour le terrain de pickleball, d'approuver le paiement d'un montant de 11 548,62 $ avant taxe à Indic Inc. pour le resurfaçage en acrylique du terrain de pickleball, d'approuver le paiement d'un montant de 809,75 $ à Sport Inter Plus pour l'achat de filets de pickleball, d'approuver le paiement d'un montant de 775,41 $ à Location André pour la location d'un chariot élévateur, d'approuver le paiement d'un montant de 194,97 $ à Sid Print pour l'affichage sur le terrain de pickleball, d'approuver le paiement d'un montant de 2 913,33 $ à Serrurier Plus pour le système de serrure et les clés de la clôture du terrain de pickleball, d'approuver le paiement d'un montant de 14 558,94 $ à Jacques Martel Électrique Inc. pour l'installation électrique et d'éclairage du terrain de pickleball, puis d'approuver le paiement d'un montant de 2 050 $ à Déneigement SBC, Société en nom collectif SENC, pour le démantèlement et la disposition du parc à jeux du parc Cambridge, puis que ces dépenses soient financées par le surplus non affecté.
Merci. To my left, do I have a supporter? Darren Legault, seconded by Mark Gray. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. So the total project cost has come in at $113,300. This is below the original estimate of $137,600. So this is the final series of payments to multiple suppliers, as you've seen, for a project that was run and implemented by the town. Moving on to item 7.4, grant to the Vaudreuil-Soulanges Irish Society, whereas the town received a subsidy request from the Vaudreuil-Soulanges Irish Society to help defray the costs of the St. Patrick's Parade. This resolution is to grant a financial contribution in the amount of $8,500 to the Vaudreuil-Soulanges Irish Society. The Irish Society is also a fundraiser for the neonatal units in the new Vaudreuil Hospital. So it's not just for the costs of the parade, but also as part of a fundraiser for their charity. En français.
7.4, octroi d'une subvention à la Société irlandaise Vaudreuil-Soulanges. Considérant que la Ville a reçu une demande de subvention de la Société irlandaise Vaudreuil-Soulanges pour aider à défrayer les coûts du défilé de la Saint-Patrick, cette résolution a pour but d'octroyer une subvention au montant de 8 500 $ à la Société irlandaise Vaudreuil-Soulanges.
Merci. Do I have a mover to my left? Mark Gray, supported by Reed Thompson. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. The subsidy requests have come in for the nonprofit organizations. We are looking into those. We expect that we will have the full list for the February meeting, which will be the last Tuesday in February, February 24th next month. With regards to Section 8, Public Works, there are no resolutions. Section 9, Public Safety, 9.1, 2026 Provincial Program, Financial Assistant Request for Firefighter Training. Whereas this program's main objective is to provide municipal organizations with financial assistance in order to have a sufficient number of qualified firefighters to efficiently and safely act in an emergency situation. Whereas the focus of this program is to support the development of the required skills and capabilities for volunteer or part-time firefighters to practice within municipal fire departments. Whereas the town of Hudson wishes to benefit from the financial assistance offered by this program, this resolution is that the town of Hudson submit an application for financial assistance for 2026 under the Financial Assistance Program for volunteers or part-time firefighter training to the Ministry of Public Security, and to transmit this request to the MRC de Vaudreuil-Soulanges that the Fire Department Director be authorized to sign all necessary documents for the purposes of this resolution.
9.1, demande d'aide financière 2026 selon le programme provincial d'aide à la formation des pompiers. Considérant que ce programme a pour objectif principal d'apporter aux organisations municipales une aide financière leur permettant de disposer d'un nombre suffisant de pompiers qualifiés pour agir efficacement et de manière sécuritaire en situation d'urgence, considérant que ce programme vise également à favoriser l'acquisition des compétences et des habiletés de base requises par les pompiers volontaires ou à temps partiel qui exercent au sein des services de sécurité incendie municipaux, considérant que la Ville d'Hudson désire bénéficier de l'aide financière offerte par ce programme, cette résolution vise à ce que la Ville d'Hudson présente une demande d'aide financière pour l'année 2026, et ce, dans le cadre du programme d'aide financière pour la formation des pompiers volontaires ou à temps partiel au ministère de la Sécurité publique et de transmettre cette demande à la MRC de Vaudreuil-Soulanges. Que le directeur du service des incendies soit autorisé à signer tout document pertinent à cet effet.
Merci, René. I see Darren's hand is already up, and I will turn to my right. Bob Johnson will support this resolution. Are there any objections to this resolution? There are none. It is carried unanimously. Section 10, Bylaws, Item 10.1, Bylaw 783-2025 on tariffs. This is for adoption. Whereas notice of motion of this bylaw was given at the regular meeting of the Town Council held on December 1st of 2025. Whereas the proposed bylaw tabled on December 1st of 2025 was amended at Appendix F, Environmental Health Department as follows. By removing the 45-liter wheeled bins, by removing the cost of replacing a 45-liter bin for a 120-liter bin for organic waste, by modifying the fee for an additional or replacement of a 360-liter wheeled bin for recycling, by adding a fee for a 360-liter wheeled bin for domestic waste, by changing the fee for a wheeled bin for food waste for a new construction, and by adjusting the English translation for the term liter. This resolution is to adopt Bylaw 783-2025, Bylaw on Tariffs, as amended.
10.1, adoption règlement 783-2025 sur la tarification. Considérant qu'un avis de motion du présent règlement a été donné à la séance ordinaire du Conseil municipal tenue le 1er décembre 2025, considérant que le projet de règlement déposé le 1er décembre 2025 s'est vu modifié à l'annexe F, Service de l'hygiène du milieu, de la façon suivante. Par le retrait des bacs roulants de 45 litres, par le retrait des frais de remplacement d'un bac de 45 litres pour un bac de 120 litres pour les matières organiques, par la modification du tarif d'un ajout ou d'un remplacement de bac roulant de 360 litres pour les matières recyclables, par l'ajout d'une tarification des bacs roulants de 360 litres pour les déchets domestiques, par la modification du tarif pour un bac roulant pour les résidus alimentaires pour une nouvelle construction, par l'ajustement de la traduction anglaise du terme « litre ». Cette résolution a pour but d'adopter le règlement 783-2025, règlement sur la tarification tel que modifié.
Merci. Do I have a mover to my right? Matt Stenberg, supported to my left by Reed Thompson. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. I see none. It is carried unanimously. Item 10.2, Bylaw 784-2025, decreeing the taxation for the 2026 fiscal year. This is for adoption. Whereas a notice of motion of this bylaw was given at the special meeting of the Town Council held on December 15th of 2025, whereas there have been no changes to the proposed bylaw tabled on December 15th of 2025. This resolution is to adopt Bylaw 784-2025, decreeing the taxation for the 2026 fiscal year.
10.2. Adoption, règlement 784-2025, décrétant l'imposition des taxes pour l'exercice financier 2026. Considérant qu'un avis de motion du présent règlement a été donné à la séance extraordinaire du Conseil municipal tenue le 15 décembre 2025, considérant que le présent règlement ne comporte aucune modification au projet déposé le 15 décembre 2025, cette résolution a pour but d'adopter le règlement 784-2025 décrétant l'imposition des taxes pour l'exercice financier 2026.
Merci. Do I have a mover to my left? Mark Gray, supported by Reed Thompson. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. Item 10.3, Bylaw 526.19.1-2025, to amend the zoning bylaw in order to modify the provisions related to air conditioning units and heat pumps in Zone R31. This is for adoption. Whereas a notice of motion of Bylaw 526.19-2025 was given by Councillor Douglas Smith at the regular meeting of October 4th of 2025, and a draft bylaw was adopted at that meeting. Whereas a public consultation meeting on said draft bylaw was duly called and held on August 14th of 2025. Whereas the draft bylaw 526.19-2025 is subject to approval by way of referendum, and that a request to participate in a referendum register has been received for Zone R31, whereas it is therefore necessary to split the draft bylaw into two draft bylaws, whereas that draft regulation does not include any modification other than those necessary for the split into two draft bylaws. Whereas that draft bylaw 526.19.1-2025 is subject to the process of approval by way of referendum. This resolution is that Bylaw 526.19.1-2025 to amend the zoning bylaw in order to modify the provisions related to air conditioning units and heat pumps in Zone R31 be adopted, and that the Assistant Town Clerk give public notice of the Register of Signatures allowing qualified voters of Zone R31 to express their opinion concerning the approval of this bylaw.
Point of clarification, Mrs. Mayor. In the first paragraph, you mentioned October 4th. It was August 4th.
First paragraph.
The very first paragraph.
August.
You mixed up October.
I messed it up?
Yep.
Thank you.
No problem.
Donc, c'est le mois d'août. Je confirme. I confirm. It is. Thank you for listening.
Just keeping us honest.
10.3, adoption, règlement 526.19.1-2025, visant à modifier le règlement de zonage afin de modifier les dispositions en lien avec les unités de climatisation et thermopompes dans la zone R31. Considérant qu'un avis de motion du règlement 526.19-2025 a été dûment donné par le conseiller Douglas Smith lors de la séance du 4 août 2025 et qu'un projet de règlement a été adopté à cette même séance, considérant qu'une assemblée de consultation publique portant sur le dit projet de règlement a été dûment convoquée et tenue le 14 août 2025, considérant que le projet de règlement 526.19-2025 est assujetti à l'approbation référendaire et qu'une demande de participation à un registre référendaire a été reçue pour la zone R31, considérant qu'il y a donc lieu de scinder le projet de règlement en deux projets de règlement, considérant que le projet de règlement ne comporte aucune modification outre que ceux nécessaires à la scission en deux projets de règlement, considérant que le projet de règlement 526.19.1-2025 soit assujetti au processus de registre référendaire, cette résolution vise à ce que le règlement 526.19.1-2025 visant à modifier le règlement de zonage afin de modifier les dispositions en lien avec les unités de climatisation et thermopompe dans la zone R31 soit adopté et que la greffière adjointe annonce par avis public la tenue du registre de signature permettant aux personnes habiles à voter de la zone R31 de se prononcer quant à l'approbation de ce règlement.
Merci. So the zone R31, to be clear, is situated south of the Vivary, and it's basically District 4, so Olympic, Cameron, and over to Côte St. Charles. And there will be a precision given online, so it's a one-sheet document that illustrates clearly where this zone is located and the material that we have just read here. Do I have a proposer to my right? Peter Mate, supported by Matt Stenberg. Are there any objections to this resolution? There are none. It is carried unanimously. Item 10.4. This is bylaw 526.19.2-2025 to amend the zoning bylaw in order to modify the provisions related to air conditioning units and heat pumps. This is for adoptions. So this is for the other areas in town where there was no, I guess, trigger of a registry. Whereas a notice of motion of bylaw 526.19-2025 was given by Councillor Douglas Smith at the regular meeting of August 4th of 2025, and a draft bylaw was adopted at that meeting. Whereas a public consultation meeting on said draft bylaw was duly called and held on August 14th of 2025, whereas the draft bylaw 526.19-2025 is subject to approval by way of referendum, and that a request to participate in a referendum registry has been received for zone R31, whereas it is thereby necessary to split the draft bylaw into two draft bylaws. This resolution is that bylaw 526.19.2-2025 to amend the zoning bylaw in order to modify the provisions related to air conditioning units and heat pumps be adopted. And en français.
Adoption 10.4, adoption règlement 526.19.2-2025 visant à modifier le règlement de zonage afin de modifier les dispositions en lien avec les unités de climatisation et thermopompe. Considérant qu'un avis de motion du règlement 526.19-2025 a été dûment donné par le conseiller Douglas Smith lors de la séance du 4 août 2025 et qu'un projet de règlement a été adopté à cette même séance, considérant qu'une assemblée de consultation publique portant sur le dit projet de règlement a été dûment convoquée et tenue le 14 août 2025, considérant que le projet de règlement 526.19-2025 est assujetti à l'approbation référendaire et qu'une demande de participation à un registre référendaire a été reçue pour la zone R31, considérant qu'il y a lieu qu'il y a donc lieu de scinder le projet de règlement en 2 projets de règlement. Cette résolution vise à ce que le règlement 526.2-2025 visant à modifier le règlement de zonage afin de modifier les dispositions en lien avec les unités de climatisation et de thermopompe soit adopté.
Merci. So just as a reminder, this is to permit 1 unit per dwelling on balconies and access front yards. These units, these air conditioning units, require concealment with covers, so sleeves, and this is essentially the outcome of that August 2025 public consultation and ongoing referendum process. So it is not for single-family homes or even multi-generational homes. It is really for multi-residential buildings, apartment buildings, and such. Do I have a mover to my left? Reed Thompson, supported by Mark Gray. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. Item 10.5, Bylaw 770.1-2026, amending Bylaw 770-2024 on the use of Sandy Beach Nature Park and Beach. This is a notice of motion and tabling of draft. I will need a councillor to give notice of motion that he would move or cause to be moved at a subsequent session of the council the adoption of the Bylaw 770.1-2026, amending Bylaw 770-2024 on the use of Sandy Beach Nature Park and Beach. The purpose of this bylaw is to allow public access to the Sandy Beach Nature Park. I see some fidgeting this way, but I will give them a chance. So I'm looking this way. En français.
10.5, avis de motion et dépôt. Règlement 770.1-2026 visant à modifier le règlement 770-2024 sur l'utilisation du parc nature et de la plage Sandy Beach. Nous aurons besoin d'un conseiller pour donner avis de motion de l'intention de soumettre pour adoption le projet de règlement 770.1-2026 visant à modifier le règlement 770-2024 sur l'utilisation du parc nature de la plage Sandy Beach. L'objet de ce règlement vise à autoriser l'accès au public au parc nature Sandy Beach.
Merci. Do I have a councillor to my right? So Bob Johnson gives notice of motion. Section 11, other authorities. Item 11.1, designation of representatives from the South Shore for the position of members of the Board of Directors of the Metropolitan Transportation Network, so EXO. Whereas under the provisions of the Act respecting the Réseau de Transport Métropolitain, the appointment of the representatives of the South Shore to the Board of Directors of EXO is made at a meeting to which EXO invites all mayors of the local municipalities of the sector concerned. This resolution is to appoint the following individuals to sit on the Board of Directors of the Réseau de Transport Métropolitain, EXO. The 4 following people: Ms. Geneviève Lachance, Mayor of Saint-Lazare; Mr. Jean-Claude Boyer, Mayor of the City of Saint-Constant; Ms. Alexandra Labbé, Mayor of the City of Chambly; Mr. Mario Lemay, Mayor of the City of Sainte-Julie. Et en français.
Autre instance, 11.1, désignation des représentants de la Couronne Sud pour les postes de membres du conseil d'administration du réseau de transport métropolitain EXO. Considérant que selon les dispositions de la loi sur le réseau de transport métropolitain, la nomination des représentants de la Couronne Sud au conseil d'administration d'EXO est faite à l'occasion d'une réunion à laquelle EXO confie l'ensemble des maires et mairesses des municipalités locales du secteur concerné. Cette résolution a pour but de nommer les personnes suivantes afin de siéger au conseil d'administration du réseau de transport métropolitain EXO. Madame Geneviève Lachance, mairesse de Saint-Lazare, Monsieur Jean-Claude Boyer, maire de la ville de Saint-Constant, Madame Alexandra Labbé, mairesse de la ville de Chambly, et Monsieur Mario Lemay, maire de la ville de Sainte-Julie.
Merci beaucoup. Do I have a mover to my right? Peter Mate, supported by Matt Stenberg. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. Are there any items in new business, section 12? No. So we're now moving on to second question period. There are 7 people online and still 5 in the room. If there's a person coming to the microphone, please come ahead. Give your name and your street, please.
Hi, Ariane Jonasson, Oak Ridge. Happy New Year, everyone. Thank you.
Happy New Year.
I have a few questions. Hudson Forest Play, will they have access to Sandy Beach? Will they be going there, do you know, for the day camp?
Yes,
They
absolutely.
can go? Okay.
Yeah.
Because they didn't with my kids yet.
Well, this was the purpose of the notice of motion, so we will be adopting the reopening if you want next month, but people are already walking. I mean, we're already walking.
But I meant for the day camp this summer with the monitors. And I was wondering regarding that, because the kids, they cross the street here and they don't, like all the kids from the day camp, they cross over there and not at the crosswalk. And some kids, anyways, my kids had to come back alone one time. So I was wondering if we could add like maybe some markings on the road because, I mean, some people stop, but some people race by, especially tourists, and they don't know. So if we can add a second thing of markings.
I think we'll take that under advisement. Reid here is with the Circulation Committee. It's Reid and, is it Matt? Okay. So absolutely, thank you.
Can I ask one more thing? Am I
Please.
allowed? Because what happened on Cameron, and we walk on Cameron, and I was wondering if we could consider in the future widening that area, please.
So the priority that I've heard from council so far with regards to paving is looking to widen Côte St. Charles. We all want more walking, more cycling along all major arteries. There is an opportunity on the grass portion of Cameron for us to look at doing something there because otherwise it's a bit narrow with the turning. I think the issue on Cameron is also, and we have that on Main as well, but the actual alignment with sun, you know, it's lower at certain times of the year. So there are certainly, I've driven up Cameron and been blinded. So I think that that's something also to take into consideration and greater awareness of better sharing and being aware that when you're driving or you're walking, that not all people can see each other.
But also we could add a stop at Fairhaven possibly to slow the traffic down. I don't know if that works.
Yeah, we're looking at
almost
having
got
a
hit
master
myself.
plan on circulation so that what we're doing in one area doesn't actually transfer to another area. So where there's speed abatement measures, that it's not creating. So that's certainly something, I didn't mention it in my opening remarks, but it is part of what we would like to get it done.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Are there any questions online? I see no hands. All right, microphone. Votre
Bonjour,
nom?
DEUXIÉME,
Oui.
Burchill. Pas pour la circulation, mais le stationnement ici en arrière. During the summer, it's fine. People are parking correctly, but this time of year with the snow is a disaster. We're losing probably a quarter of the spaces. It seems to me that if we have like posts and chains to sort of be the line, the floating line, so people can see it. Just coming here tonight, I mean, there's not a lot of people in the room, and there was almost no parking spot.
Are they curling at the Legion?
Yeah, well, the Legion uses, but the activities on during the week downstairs. I think we need to maximize the space there.
It's a tight parking lot.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And already the fact that it's on angles, I agree with you. I think we were here for Robbie Burns on Saturday, and already I think it was the fourth person in hadn't pulled their nose forward enough. So then it was really hard for anyone to either drive through or even come park out.
Yeah.
So I would see the point of the chain so that someone has a marker.
Yeah, just a small plastic change and nothing fancy, just...
It's always for snow removal. It's a bit of a nuisance, but
Yeah.
I think your point is well taken.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions online? There are none. Please go ahead.
Liz Morgan, Hillcrest.
You can probably lower the microphone.
I'm not that short.
No, but it's just, I think people online will hear you better.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
getting a
Liz Morgan, Hillcrest.
much better.
I was wondering if the parking permits for Salazar and Hudson are going to be available for Jack Layton Park again this summer, the free ones, and how is that going to affect CMM and whatever?
Yeah, so there is a standing agreement at this point that we provide parking passes and access to the boat launch in exchange for the use of that Parc Nature Les Forestiers. It certainly will be part of what will be assessed as we're looking at the plan for conservation and management of Sandy Beach, is what do we do with the parking? How do we manage that perhaps differently? Recognizing that that is one of the areas where there is congestion, but also it may be a sign as well of how many people are actually walking through the trails and using the beach. We want that whole area, we want the ecology of it, the environment of it to continue to be able to revitalize, renaturalize. So that's something we will be looking at very much.
The reason I asked that was because if there are going to be parking permits or parking meters with the CMM, that might be not allowed if it's free for everybody or, you know, paying for everybody. And so that was just part of the equation. So
Exactly. No, you're
I'm kind of
absolutely
like trying to figure out
You're
how
absolutely
that
right.
access will be. Yeah.
So any measure that we impose has to be even and the same for everyone in the CMM, cemetery territory.
However, that's the town property, not Sandy Beach property.
Doesn't matter, it's still part of the access to the
Okay,
site.
so that might not be the case.
Well, that's part of what needs to be assessed. But
Okay,
again, I
all
think so far what I'm hearing is that we accept that whatever measure we put in place will have to be the same for all. And then we will review with the CMM to make sure that if we choose to keep a certain restriction on parking, which I don't think will be allowed, but parking is certainly something that it's more in terms of space and quantity, and to know that if there are a lot of people, it's probably not good for nature, whether it's Hudsonites or CMM residents at large.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Are there any other questions or comments?
So Benoit Blais, Main Road. Question regarding the affordable project. How much have we spent in 25? How much are we going to spend in 26?
Which
When are we going-
affordable project?
The Wyman.
Okay. So in answer to your question on the Villa Wyman project, in terms of spending so far, what we're looking at, they're still undergoing, as you know, the assessment, the surveying, and the la qualité des sols in terms of environmental, was it level 1, I guess, assessments of the grounds. On our side, what I've asked is that there be better integration in terms of the project with the neighborhood. So there will be spending on our side to have more of an urban planning assistance in terms of consultant to help with that. But apart from that, there's nothing moving forward so far. It's going to be slow moving. We know that la mairesse de Montréal and the president of the CMM is very anxious to get more housing done, more measures for people without housing, les itinérants. And so what she's already signaled at the CMM level is all the funds, extra funds that were reserved, for example, for agricultural communities within, it was a subsidy that was made available for agricultural communities within the CMM. I think there were 14 municipalities. That fund is now being transferred to social housing and to affordable housing as well. So there's a big push to get more of that, but we are certainly making sure first that it is a project that integrates with its neighborhood, and the public will be informed and involved in the process.
So when do you expect the land to be donated to Toit-la-Barre?
Only when we've gotten to the process of being satisfied with the project.
So
that
no
may-
date?
We're really not there yet.
So your finance, in the meantime, how is it financed, that purchase?
As you know, that was from our unallocated surplus.
So it's same thing?
There's no long-term debt being incurred on
Okay.
this.
Regarding the PTI, you're replacing one tractor for the trail for the ice rink by two tractors for a total of $220,000. Is that the case, or is one equipment?
Did you see this in the PTI?
Yes.
Do you have an answer to that specifically? I think we'll get back to you with the answer on that. I think it's one equipment, but I'd like that to be confirmed.
One of 75 and one of 150.
And it's in order to provide better tracking on the trails. It's an equipment that is more, how do you say, adapted to the multipurpose, but the types of trails that we have, and also giving us better surfaces on the variety of ice surfaces that we have.
Last question, for Jack Layton Bridge, you will spend $150,000 this year and replace the bridge in 28 for $350. Should we not just replace it now and save the $150?
I think that also there's a lot of, as you know, environmental assessment on that, and any approval will not take place within 12 months. So I think at this point we're just doing patching on it to make sure that it stays open, and of course looking at what the option is to replace it entirely. I have a feeling that is much more for the plans of it rather than the physical aspect of it. So we're paying for plans this year in order to do the physical replacement in 2020.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Are there any questions online? There are none. Therefore, we will move to Section 13, adjournment of the meeting. I will require the Reed Thompson to move, seconded by Matt Stenberg, that the meeting be adjourned at 8:54 p.m. Are there any objections to this resolution? There are none. It is carried unanimously. So thank you, everyone, for participating, and we look forward to seeing you in February. So I remind you there will be a public meeting for the results of the survey that will be going out for the acceptability on the $2 million subsidy from the CMM. That should be going out early February with a public information meeting and presentation on February 19th here at 7 p.m. So thank you, everyone. Take care.